Everyone. I hope you can all see and hear me all right. My name is Ulla Koenig. I'm a mindfulness Dharma teacher from Southern Germany, and it's my privilege to be with you this week, this morning. And we're going to talk about the eightfold path in a minute. Just before we do that, the usual framework, you will find the chat box with a possibility to connect with all the lovely people being here with us, co-creating together this session with your questions, your hellos, your expressions of kindness and appreciation and compassion. We're going to co-create the session together. If you have questions on if there's anything on the technical side, you can ask the Sangha through the chat box. Or during the last 10 to 15 minutes of our session, there will be a possibility for you to share your experience, to ask any questions, to report what you maybe feel some resistance to. All is fine. So use that lovely chat box to be in touch with each other. I'm going to talk for about 15 to 20 minutes in the beginning, and then we practice with the theme of today. And just the usual inspiration to support Sangha Live and the teachers. You can make a donation, and I will show you the link at the end of the session. It is, as usual, very, very much appreciated. So thank you. I'm on the darker side today, but maybe it's even enough to just hear my voice. The light is difficult this morning. Okay. Let me talk about wisdom. Yesterday, we started to explore this fourth noble truth, which contains this eightfold path of practice, 8 aspects the Buddha emphasized. We can experiment with, play with, we can investigate, we can practice with. None of them is like a do this, don't do that list, but it's almost like an exploration, each of them an exploration, and practice becomes wholesome, becomes whole when we explore each of these 8 aspects in our lives, in our day-to-day living, on the cushion in formal practice. It all has its place in time. So we divided it up into 3 aspects, and from one day to the next, we're going to explore them. The first, which will be today, is wisdom and understanding and insight. And the second tomorrow will be action and integrity and ethics. And the last one will be the cultivation and nourishment of the heart mind. So today, wisdom, understanding and insight. And some of you might already go, and I remember that I wasn't comfortable at all with the word wisdom in the beginning. Might go like, ooh, this might be bigger than me, the wisdom, understanding and insight part. I'm not sure whether I'm such a wise person. And we close the eyes and we might remember images of those we consider to be wise. And that can be sometimes quite distant from what we feel like this morning, this time of the day, or in general. So let's explore what wisdom actually is. And the Buddha here named 2 practice aspects: sammaditthi, conducive or appropriate perspective. Ditthi can mean view, looking at something or just to see. So I would translate that as conducive perspective. And sammasankappo, which is conducive intention, motivation. These 2 we're going to explore today. So let's start with the wisdom aspect. What does it mean to be wise? What does it actually mean to have profoundly understood something? And I find that quite interesting, how we deal with that word wisdom. When I think of wisdom, I noticed that there is a difference to knowledge. Yeah. Knowledge means I can say what something is. I can describe how something goes. I can describe a process, a dynamic, I can give a definition, and so on. I can pin it down, I can name it, and I can almost accumulate that. Yeah, accumulate a lot of things I can name and say how they go and what is right and what is wrong, and so on. So knowledge sometimes has this character of ownership and possession. Yeah, I know something, and here goes the comparison, and you don't. Yeah, or you know something and I don't, and we have this hierarchy of knowledge, and that can make us feel quite uncomfortable. So we might go into this wisdom training, say, "Oh, I know so little. I know hardly anything. There are so many things, infinite amount of things I could learn and study in the spiritual realm, but also like in all the other realms of knowledge acquisition are so many things, infinite things." And we might feel very small in confrontation in comparison with that. But that is knowledge, it's not wisdom. Yeah, and knowledge itself has its downfalls too. Yeah, things are way more complex and dynamic than a single concept or a single description or a single view can actually pinpoint it to. You know, things are interwoven with other things, so we get into all kind of conflicts with saying it's like that or it's not like this. Yeah, but as I said, this is not wisdom. And it's not Buddhism or Dharma practice or mindfulness practice as well. It's not about acquiring a lot of knowledge. It really isn't. We might have minds which love to collect. Yeah, they're like little collectors of pieces and snippets of knowledge. Sometimes we feel safe if we acquire a lot of knowledge. I know what I can name all the 8 links of the Eightfold Path. I know the trajectory of dependent arising or whatever it is. That might even give us a sense of safety and know what I'm quote unquote talking about. But that's actually not necessary. What is this wisdom if it's not knowledge? And the Buddha made it very simple, and you are all practicing wisdom on a day-to-day basis. He said it's a way of looking, a choice of perspective, a choice of action, yeah? A choice of motivation, which limits distress, suffering, pain, unease, and friction with our experience, with experience which touch our heart minds. Yeah. In the response, in the reaction to these experiences, we notice that our choice of action, our choice of relating to that limits stress, suffering, pain, unease, conflict. That is wisdom. That which limits distress, suffering, pain, unease, and conflict. And you might now just remember a lot of moments where you actually were able to make such choices to say, oh, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to think that. I'm going to switch off the TV because I noticed these set of images or words that's just too painful, too stressful. Yeah, that was wisdom there. You know, we wouldn't dare to name it usually this way. And the whole teachings of the Buddha are actually collections of frameworks to offer perspectives. We could look at things this way, or we could look at things from this point of view. And what does that do to you? For example, the heart qualities. Yeah, there is such an emphasis on the heart qualities in the Western world, and I really appreciate this because it gives us choice when thinking about how do I want to relate to this, like me, or you, or just experience in general. Yeah, I can relate with this sense of aversion, I can relate with this sense of fear, but there are other perspectives like the Brahma Viharas, like can I relate from a place of friendliness or care or appreciation or spaciousness? And the Buddha would say that makes all the difference. That makes all the difference, this choosing a perspective. Other perspectives he regularly names are, for example, the marks of existence. Looking at the changeability of things can shift the perspective totally, yeah. Or acknowledging the unsatisfactory nature of every experience. There is always something imperfect, always something which is not quite as it should be, or it ends too soon, or something else starts too soon, or whatever it is. So it's kind of never fully satisfying, you know. Or these self-building processes. Wow, when I look at them, that can totally change my perspective. The conditionality of experience, to say, oh, everything is actually linked and one thing is contributing to the other. So a whole toolkit of ways of looking. And wisdom is the choice to say, okay, which set of classes do I want to choose? Which set of classes would actually lessen, soothe the suffering of this moment? And none of these perspectives are right. If you choose a fixed perspective of, let's say, appreciation all day long, or if you choose a perspective of looking at the change and changeability of experience all day long, I could possibly imagine that after a while this starts hurting, or in certain situations this would not be appropriate. So there is the dynamic of wisdom to say, and now, and what is appropriate now, and what is necessary or needed now. And we can practice with this question. What way of looking is appropriate, conducive, supportive right now? That I would call wisdom. And part of a practice of wisdom, of samadhi, appropriate perspective, is to learn about different perspectives, actually to almost like gather, if you go to how do you say, those places where you buy the classes, they come with these broad tables of classes on them, and get one of these samadhi and collect as many different perspectives, classes as you can, and try them on. Yeah, how does the situation look like if I choose this perspective right now? This perspective makes suffering, heightened suffering, this lessens it. Okay, I learned something. This is how I can look at this situation with less suffering. That is part of our practice. So I hope I could invoke some curiosity there. And now let's come to the second aspect this morning, and I'm going to wrap it up at the end for you to digest easier. The second aspect is appropriate intention. Yeah. Once we looked at something, once we had a perspective at something, looking is not enough. Yeah. We are very likely to engage, to act upon something. Yeah. And we are acting beings. Mindfulness and meditation is not supposed to make us only receptive. Yeah. Action, and you will notice that tomorrow a lot, action is so much a part of the Buddhist path, of the Buddha's path. Yeah, this being engaged in the word, it's beautiful, it's natural, it's necessary. So a lot of the aspects which he contributes are about how to engage and how to be in this word as an active being. So it all starts with the intention, the motivation. We have conscious and we have unconscious motivations, and they are guiding our actions to a great degree. And the Buddha suggested 3 reliable motivations. He made very broad heaps of motivations, and said these 3 are reliable ones, and I just name them for a moment. The first one would be to renunciate. Such another one of those unattractive words, renunciation. The mind goes like a bit, oh, do we really want that? I would like to interpret it as a way to simplify and ease, not to throw out of the window, but to simplify and ease our wants and desires. And what immediately comes up for me, if I put it this way, to say, oh, easing up, not being pushed and pulled by my wants and desires so much. Yeah, actually, that sounds peaceful. And the heart mind goes, yeah, I might be up for that. Yeah, not the harsh renunciation where I have to give up, but this invitation to simplify and ease, almost to unburden the heart mind from all those pushing, pulling, knocking on the door, wants and desires. We still need that, and we have to gather that, and we cannot rest before we have that. Yeah, say, okay, some more ease sounds lovely. And that would be one. The second is non-ill will. I know that some teachers will turn this around, yeah, and make renunciation into generosity, non-ill will into kindness, and the next one, non-cruelty, into compassion. I wonder, just as a thought, if that is asked too much at times. When we stay with non-ill will and non-cruelty, we know what motivations we do not want to give into, rather than asking from the heart mind, from ourselves all the time, to be kind and to be compassionate. I wonder whether that is asked too much at times. So non-ill will, not to be guided by the pushes of ill will, aversion and aggression, and non-cruelty, not to be guided by cruel and harsh and harming intentions. That's it. Renunciation, non-ill will, non-cruelty. Something within me goes, oh, that's it. Like, I don't have to do all that fancy stuff which makes me like a good person. That's it. Renunciation, non-ill will, non-cruelty. Okay. Yeah, that sounds doable. Yeah, I wonder how you find that. You can report that back to me later. But there's another way to relate to motivation and intention. It's actually to find out for yourself. Yeah, you don't need to take that list. I don't think that's actually just to take a blueprint and then to mold yourself into the blueprint is a wise way to practice, because it's not your inside, is it? It's someone else's inside, and you just mold yourself into someone else's inside there. Ask yourself, what is driving you? What is driving you in this moment? You know, what motivation is pushing, pulling, demanding action? And I always need to do that almost in a twofold way. To say, yeah, there are the thoughts and the narratives. They are saying things like, I have to do this. This is the right thing to do. I deserve this, and I can't possibly be without this. Yeah, or can't possibly be with this. And it's here and sounds crystal clear and absolutely convincing. Yeah, my mind can do that. Very, very convincing storyteller, master teller. Deserves some patch for that, definitely. And then there is the somatic sense. And over the years of practice, I'll learn to trust the somatic sense. If the story goes like, I deserve this, and within me there is this swampy feeling of hunger, just like this notice of hunger, and I have fed this hunger so often in my life. I know that this piece of chocolate or this piece of cloth or this whatever it is, it will not possibly feed that hunger. Even if the story is so convincing, I can start to rely on the somatic sense. Or in self-righteous anger, oh boy, are the stories convincing. I will tell her my peace of mind, and she absolutely deserves that. And the anger goes, building up the ego and all of that. But I know this burning feeling, like this self-aggrandizement, like I'm growing larger than actually myself. And I've learned to distrust that somatic sense as well, saying, wow, if this is in the picture, what comes out of my mouth, I will usually 90% regret later that I don't want to be driven by that kind of urge and push. So my questions for you on intentions and motivations: what do you truly wish to be guided by? No one else is deciding. No, there is no one standing telling you, be such a person, be a good person, you should be a kind person, you should be a compassionate person. You decide for yourself. What do you truly wish to be guided by? And that is a practice and a question of wisdom and insight for me. And I need to ask myself that question over and over and over again to say, what is inspiring me? Yeah. Are there intentions? Are there motivations? Are there qualities which I sincerely, hand on heart, want to be guided by? So, and here already the door opens for tomorrow towards ethics and integrity. This beautiful, beautiful place of our actions and our beingness in the world. It starts with the intentions. But for today, and that's it, two questions to practice with. What way of looking and relating to the experience is supportive right now, creates less suffering? What way of looking, what perspective would lessen, soothe the suffering a bit? And the second is, what intention, motivation, quality do you wish to be guided by this morning, and then asking again this afternoon, and then asking again this evening? Yeah. What do you want to be guided by and nourished by? Okay. Now let's practice. Let's practice. Actually, we're going to practice a breathing meditation this morning. It doesn't have to go well at all. We're going to practice with these two questions. You can have a rumbley, hardly connected meditation with your breath. It doesn't matter. What matters is the exploration of the questions. Even if you're not good friends with your breathing, hang in. Maybe we can find a good way to relate to it anyways. First of all, find your feet, find your hands, find your shoulders, find your back and your head. When we listen, we collapse into that thought digesting place in the brain. And now we large in our awareness again. Almost like broadening your sense of being. You're more than just the word receiving and word digesting place in the mind, more than mano. I love in the beginning of a meditation to visit almost like the borders of the body, almost like the outer line, hollow outer line of the upper arms and the back. To remember how spacious body can be. Outer line of the feet and the legs. And especially around my head, I need to do this often because it can feel very cramped, like unnecessary density. Feeling the cheekbones, and that there is actually a bit of, or rather a lot of space between them. The face might be much broader than this density in the head suggests. Noticing the top of the head, the broadness of the skull, can be even supportive to notice the broadness of the neck and the throat. It's not that there is a felt sense of tightness in the neck and the throat. It might be very beneficial to actually maybe even touch if you can't feel it just sitting. Oh, there's much more space. What feels like the outline of the body actually isn't. It's just a contraction within. If this doesn't make sense for you, don't worry. Maybe the mind goes into, I need to figure this out. You don't. Maybe the image doesn't work for you. So do what allows your body to soften, to arrive in this posture, sitting, standing, lying down, walking. And can you notice the broadness, the vastness of the bodily field? Maybe you can't. That's okay too. So let me ask you a first question. With what intention, with what motivation do you wish to practice this morning? Almost what attitude do you want to bring to this practice? And what attitude could survive the moments where it's not easy, where you can't connect to breathing or body, when the attention is not calm and steady but swirling around? If you can, if possible, maybe a word, something like care, something like patience, which you can remember and recall during our practice. And once you've settled on that, maybe even got a felt sense of what that could feel like, to be looking or looked at with such a quality. We once more remember the broadness of the bodily field, from the feet, through the legs, through the buttocks and the hips, torso, arms, head and neck. Vast, vast field. And somewhere in this vast field you notice breathing. You don't have to do it. You don't have to zoom in on it. It's almost as if you stand in front of a large landscape and there's a spring and some water springing from that part of the larger landscape. You don't need to jump into it or make it do something. And once you've found it, there's the second question. How would you like to look at breathing this morning? Do you want to go and be close to breathing? Are you curious to experience the details, the ups and downs, the movements? Or would it be supportive to be spacious around breathing? Do you want to use the breathing to support the body, guiding it here and there as if fresh water running into the tight and overheated and undernourished places in the body? Or would it be lovely to receive breathing, be breathed, be breathed, no need to do anything but receive breathing? What of those perspectives sounds attractive this morning? Or wisdom might be to say, oh, I'm just contented when I recognize breathing even happening ever so often. There is so much turbulation in the heart mind. And it would be the most supportive thing not to put any pressure on the heart mind, not to yank it. And I shall just be happy when I notice breathing once in a while. Your choice, your wisdom. And if the attention can't be with, well, there's a lot of other things going on, it surely does not lessen suffering when you yank at the mind or get frustrated. That heightens suffering. Just another little ouch. So the open question, how? How can I be with this morning? This is how your heart, mind, your body is this morning. You might even notice over time, just the course of one meditation, wisdom can invite us to do and to relate from different places. Maybe in the beginning it was very beneficial to be spacious. And after a while, when things settle down, we can go a little closer. Or the other way round. Maybe it was lovely to be active and co-gestalt with the breath in the beginning. But after a while, there's this feeling of, oh, I would love to have a rest and just receive breathing. Now let's free up the breathing again. It can stay, it can merge into the background, the periphery of attention. And let's just sit with this curiosity of wisdom for a moment. What would be necessary right now? Any way of being with the experience of this morning, which could nourish you for the upcoming day. Maybe the heart mind needs a little friendliness or some words of appreciation. Would that feel like a wise thing to do? Some care, some compassion. Or to remember that things depend on more than just our volition, our willpower. To say, I'm not sure what will happen today, but it depends not only on me trying hard and being good. I will show up and I can bring a motivation and an intention into this day. That's what I can do. Or last suggestion, to remember the changeability. This is not going to be a day. It's going to be many moments. Pleasant and unpleasant ones, challenging and lovely ones. And you're not a person, but so many things in so many different moments. Just see whether there is something to take away with you. Saying, yeah, dear mindfulness, could you potentially help me to remember this once or twice over the course of this day? And then we start moving hollow fingers and feet. Ooh, some yawning, sighing, some stretching and gentle movement. And when you feel ready, you come back to the screen. So, I hope that you're all doing well. You are welcome now to put some reflections, some questions, some your resistances with the practice, with what I said before, into the chat box and share with us. And as Wendy said, I'm going to post the 2 questions for you into the chat box as well. So you can, if you like, practice with these. let me know what came up for you. Okay. I'm having a very unenlightened day today. Anything showing up, the easy ones, the challenging ones, and you might be just typing, and I need to be patient while you're typing in. We all need to be patient with each other. Well, we could enjoy the afterglow of a meditation session. Thanks, Ruth. Anyone there usually having troubles with breathing? On how was this meditation for you? I'll also shall type in the three reliable motivations the Buddha named, and you can explore them. So, Stevie wrote, I started in pain and trapped as breathing is an issue. Yeah, the choice opened a sense of freedom. Beautiful. Yeah, breathing can be an issue. We how many mindfulness courses and Dharma courses start off with breathing, and for how many that actually can be a torture, because breathing, especially if in a body which is in high agitation or stress or with trauma, breathing will not be a very pleasant experience. So for those of you, there can be occasional meetings with breathing, yeah, and see what is helpful, what wisdom could contribute to have a new relationship with breathing. But maybe it's not the number one anchor. There are other anchors. Yeah, and actually lovely to have choice and agency, not do the breathing, yeah, but to have choice and agency already gives a little bit of freedom back. Yeah, lovely. Thank you, Stevie. Vanya writes, I love the spaciousness and ease with which you were explaining things. Yeah, yeah. I think it's a similar thing when we are the authority in our practice and we can relate to and explore and learn for ourselves rather than do this, do that, don't do this, don't do that. This sense of ease and spaciousness opens up, and it makes it so much easier. You will notice tomorrow to relate, for example, to integrity and ethics. Yeah, great, thanks. Natalie is writing, my understanding of wisdom is not based on the intellectual understanding of something, but a physical body experience. Yeah, and a deep knowing from experience, which gives rise to confidence and wisdom. I could relate to what you said about somatic experience rather than narrative. Yeah, and her words were acceptance and being breathed. Lovely. That connects. The wisdom connects to the needs of the body, heart, and mind, and practice with these. Yeah, great. Sue is writing. She found it useful to be grateful for the warmth that I experience, as well as noticing my aversion to the cold draw. It altered my perspective, so there seemed to be actually be more warmth. Beautiful. Gratitude, yeah, something which is so often used like a social punishing. Be grateful. You have so much. Be grateful. It actually can be a real resource and a real perspective. Something to that is a pair of glasses, and to notice, that is a really powerful pair of glasses. If I put it on consciously and freely, beautiful. See, keeping it simple today was a very helpful way to practice. Lovely. That is a word which can carry us through the day. Simplicity. Keep it simple. Keep it simple, dear mind. Wendy is writing, I like the image of the bubbling spring. I can overbreathe and experience tension in my abdomen, and this helped. The bubbling spring, which is included in the large bodily field. I don't have to zoom in. I don't have to force myself into breathing. It's there, and there is also a lot around that. Great. Catherine is writing, there was a huge relief to have the path pointed out this way that avoids my perfectionist tendencies, but still leaves the door open for movement. Yes, Catherine. These perfectionist tendencies, I know them, and they creep in. This is the intention part. And for me, there is almost like a bit of grief work there as well. Dear lovely mind always comes up with the idea of how things were when they were perfect, how I could be when I was just perfect, and to say, well, we could have this deep breathing experience and this wonderful blank mind, and everything would be so sweet. To say, that is not my heart mind this morning. Dear mind, do you notice how agitated the attention is and how cramped the body is? We're not going even close to that image. Wisdom, says, oh, let's care, let's housekeep what is there. And there's a bit of grief to say, oh, I'm not gonna reach deep samadhi today. Ouch. So that is something in the perfectionist tendencies, I think, which goes overlooked at times. This almost necessity to grieve that the ideal is not going to take place today or anytime soon. Anita's writing, she has a tendency to over-effort in life. I found the choice to focus on receiving breath very helpful. Wonderful, especially by holding it in mind, a beautiful local walk. This walk always soothes me by making me feel nurtured and by offering me beauty that I can receive. Now, that is beautiful. Here comes it all together. You see, the image and probably the somatic sense of walking, and that is supporting to maintain the intention of receiving, being receptive. This is how it feels to be receptive. We can forget that in the over-efforting. Now you have image and you have somatic experience and memory. Oh, that is how it feels to receive something. And then you can tap into the energy of that motivation again. Beautifully described. Thank you. Heidi writes that she finds the teaching helpful, and she started Qigong and standing meditation this year, but breathing and relaxation into the breath has flown out of the window. And you will notice this, Heidi, just not only with Qigong and standing meditation and then forgetting about breathing, then strengthening breathing again, but you will notice it with the eightfold path as well. You say that is okay, and I'll say that on the last day again, but store it in your memory already. Practice runs in cycles, in circles. We emphasize one, that the other goes into the background. We come back to that and we say, how can I keep everything together and do everything? You can't. So can we have this cycling movement in mind? We say, okay, now the emphasis is there, but I notice the next turn will come and I will go back to something else. So I don't have to make it all the time. What way of looking and relating is conducive right now? You found that. I felt so much hope and peace. Beautiful. And Tinika is writing, thank you. I really felt what it can be like to reflect the meditation. Usually I start thinking, this was different. Beautiful to know the difference. The one is the talking, chatting mind, and the other one is coming from a place of depth and has a slowness to it. It can pause. It can feel out what the thought brings up with it, oh, that thought doesn't feel so harmonious. Maybe there's still something to find in there. Yeah. So totally different, the reflection and the thinking about something. Oh, lovely, all your contributions. I very much appreciate how you co-create this session with me. So let me see whether I can do some more. Ruth is writing, I chose the gratitude classes too this morning, or rather they chose me. Lovely perspective. Yeah, they chose me. I love that too. I don't have to make all my practice happen. I can sit there and some deep wisdom, just as someone earlier described it, will almost offer me a perspective. What about gratitude, loved one? Yeah, what about gratitude? And actually, do you notice how we co-create good intentions here? Like someone mentions gratitude, or there was a snippet in my talk or anything, and we almost gift each other with inspiration. Beautiful. So Kelly wrote, when I look to adopt a perspective, I have to remind myself to consider my present frame of mind first. Beautifully put, Kelly. Patience to pre-reflect or something like that. Just a reflection. Yeah, wonderful. So we don't stumble in. Yeah, that is maybe also the difference between a reflection and choosing a perspective and the narrative mind saying, "Oh, you haven't been grateful for a while. You should choose gratitude." Yeah, saying, "Oh, really?" To reflect and to feel in and say what would be conducive. And the narrative talking mind, it's almost not in touch enough to answer that question fully. So like we did in meditation, to come in, to feel out, and then to choose might be the way Kelly describes it, which is lovely. Heidi's writing, I'm struggling in how I relate to my body. My nervous system and body are showing up in new and uncomfortable ways after years of overriding their messages. Connecting to body feels like encouraging pain and suffering. Yeah, I wonder if you have any comments about working with this. Yeah. It's like if something hasn't been heard in a while and hasn't had space for good reasons. Yeah, I'm sure about that. It can, now that it gets a bit space, it can be very loud. So finally something hears me. Finally I can make myself heard and understood. And it's almost like soothing that and saying, yeah, I'm going to be there for you, but bit by bit. Yeah, not all at the same time and not over long stretches. My attention, my kindness, my presence can't hold that in this intensity over such extended periods of time. So I dip in and I am with until the attention gets brittle, until I notice friction and suffering arises, and then I'm taking myself out of it again. And this is not denial, and this is not disrespecting these experiences, but almost to say, I take as much as I can, and as long as I can relate in supportive ways. And then I need to redirect my attention to something else. I hope, Heidi, in this brief way, this is a supportive thing to explore. Now Olivia is writing, she's thanking everyone. Yeah. The gentle feeling of being part of a group relaxes my body even deeper. Oh yeah. Makes me feel held in gratitude and the obviousness of why these practices are so important for me in the lovely craziness of this world. Yeah. Sangha and just having this, even online, like it's a marvel to me still, this idea of being connected with each other. And this sense of, it's something very soothing, deeply soothing to the heart, to say I'm not alone, I'm not isolated, I'm held by something more than me. Beautiful. Katie has a question. I found it difficult to ponder on the second question during the lovely breathing meditation. When trying to remember the questions, took me to my mind. Not sure how I could have approached better. Oh, maybe, Katie, that is the downfall of a guided meditation. So maybe not so much on your part, rather than me interrupting your process with questions. So when you do the breathing again for yourself, you might feel very naturally just trying out a couple of perspectives, like should I go close or should I go further away? How does it feel like to go close? When I go further away, this happens. Yeah. When I receive, that happens. And when I use the breath to work with the body in a pleasant way, that happens. And that would be just like little experiments and ways to And you almost might do that on your own if I'm not there talking. Great. Mike found today's teaching and practice valuable and comfortable. Thank you, Mike, for letting me know. Yeah, thank you. So now it's 9 o'clock, and I will see that Lois might send me the other questions later. And I thank you all for coming today. And tomorrow we're daringly jumping into the topic of integrity and ethics. And I'm looking forward to share this with you and find a gentle approach there as well. Thank you so much for being here with me.